My Gavanen Melonin, and well met indeed. I am Arakir Galadirthan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer. Welcome back to Divide and Conquer version 2.2, as we continue with the faction overview, as we're down to the last four with Anduin, or the Vale of the Anduin, Vale of Anduin, Anduin, the Vale, call them what you like. They are by the Anduin. So, they are a relatively rare nation in that they have more than one starting region. Now, just to touch upon this, because a lot of people keep asking me this question, so I'm afraid I'm going to devote this time to it now. This is turn number 2. Every nation in the game, when controlled by the AI, gains some settlements as a free expansion when you click end turn at turn 1. Well, not every nation, some of them don't. But almost all of them do. Some people moan through their back teeth about this, but these people, I'm afraid to say, and I'm sorry to say, and be so abrupt, are idiots. The AI cannot fight if it has only one region. It literally does nothing. It freezes up and it sits in the whole game in its single region. However, a human person can play from one region, and so what we have to do, Dolguldur is a perfect example, is give them extra regions so that they are actually a challenge and they don't just freeze themselves in one town for the whole game. So, as I say, this is turn number 2, which means that all of the auto expansion has taken place. Some people have seen this with, for example, Rune, where they start the game and they almost certainly toggle Fog of War and cheat to see that Rune only has Mistrand, and they're like, oh brilliant, they've only got one town. Then they cross over towards Lest and they suddenly discover Rune have actually got an empire, and they're like, oh well, bugger, I did not expect that. And it is, of course, because of the expansion. So, little disclaimer out of the way. That's why all of these are recorded at turn 2, so you can see what the situation will actually be like, and not what it would be like if you played as all of the other nations. So there we are. Rant over. Bjorn's Halls is yours capital, but as I was saying, you get quite a few regions. So from down in Roskabel through the 2 Hobbit regions up to Winberg, Leothorpe, Bjorn's Halls, Meithelberg and Framsberg, are your starting territories, which is quite good, but it is very long and thin, meaning that to support Roskabel from Framsberg is going to take you a very long time, and vice versa, so do obviously bear that in mind. Your initial army is not that big though, and even if you group together all of your starting forces, you still would not have a huge army. There are token garrisons in all of your settlements, as you can see as we click through there. So, not the biggest army, but an okay in terms of provinces. So as I've already said, Bjorn's Halls is your capital and is a custom battle map, so it always looks like Bjorn's Halls, and Bjorn is your faction leader. Now this image here is just what a generic leader looks like, and not what your... This is what your faction leader will look like. It is not unique to Bjorn, it's just that he is currently the leader. So that is what any faction leader for the Vale will always look like. This is what any general for the Vale will always look like. And then this is a captain. So those are the 3 strategy models. From Bjorn's Halls is also where you get your diplomat from the Karok. And Vale Defenders, as you can see, also come from there. There is the Karok in question, which is a crossing point on the Anduin. So unique bodyguards then. Bjorn does not have a unique bodyguard. He has the standard skin changes because that fits him thematically. But do note that skin changes are actually your standard bodyguard. And so Grimbjorn, his son, also has skin changes. But you do have a few uniques. So in the north, Gleowine used to be an absolute monster on a horse, but now unfortunately he's dismounted and he is Eotheod Footman. So a relatively good unit, a solid elite spear unit, but nowhere near as good as he was in past games, as many of you will know. Fastred has archers, or more accurately, woodman rangers, who are, of course, a ranger unit. Remember, this is 2.2, so they haven't undergone the ranger overhaul yet, so they are just generic rangers. Magor in the south has a standard bodyguard as well, of skin changes, but in Forodrine and in Fenberg, you have hobbits, or Sturs to be precise. Of course, the Sturs actually left this area a long time ago, but as with all of these games, it draws on historical aspects of the nations to give you troops. Of course, because the Vale in the Third Age in truth would not have any Eotheod units, and it wouldn't have any hobbits. It would be a really basic and primitive roster. It also wouldn't have any skin changes, because Bjorn and Grimbjorn are said to be the last really, or certainly they'd be really few in number, and there would not be enough to be bodyguards of every general. So neighbours and diplomacy to your north and west are the Misty Mountains, your chief and primary adversary throughout the game. To the east or southeast is of course Dol Guldur, to the northeast is the Elves of the Woodland Realm, and far to the south is both Khazad-dûm and Lothlorien. And in terms of alliances with those, you are only allied to the Khazad-dûm, so not allied to the Elves. But you are at war with Dol Guldur and the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. So you are at war with the two nearest enemies, but you're not allied to the two nearest neutrals. So you can attack the Elves if you wish to. Economy and buildings, you are a Wild Men faction. And what this means, if you've never played as a Wild Men faction, is that you are unable to upgrade castles beyond the castle tier. So you can upgrade them all once. So for example, Dwinberg is currently a keep, which is the lowest tier of castle, but it can upgrade to be what is called in the game a castle. Framsburg representing one of those, but you cannot get the third tier, which is strongholds. Additionally, towns can go no higher than large town. You do not have the stoneworking or even the population to support cities or large cities. You are wild men. Additionally, being wild men means that all of your troops train out of a single building line. You swap it over the castle to see it properly. So you get the muster ground originally, which gives you various units. Then you get the ancillary training ground, which often then gives you archers and cavalry. And then finally, after the barracks event, you get the military camp, which just gives you all of your elites. So you only have a single military building, which gives you a bit of a bonus in the earlier stages when everyone else is building 3 buildings. You only have to build the 1, which is useful. You get, as the Anduin though, a unique building as well, which gives you some money, the apiary, which is just increasing tradable goods, building income, and a culture increase bonus. And you can build that anywhere where honey is present. And honey is represented by that icon there, or that strategy model there, the apiary. There is a second tier, I believe, if we go to apiary. Yes, the apiary homestead, which just gives you even more bonuses. So a nice little eco bonus building that most Wild Men factions get, as a fact that they're kind of left in the dirt in the later stages of the game. You also get access to 2 guilds, very rarely indeed. The Archers Guild, which gives just a bonus for archers, as you can see through there. So Hunters, Master Hunters, and Elder Hunters. And you get the Horse Breeders Guild as well, representing your Aethiod heritage, who were of course the forefathers to the Rohirrim and were at one time the Lords of Rovanion. There's a region here called Plains of Vidigavia because Vidigavia was one of the last princes of Rovanion, and his people left and settled in the north of the Anduin, and then eventually they left there as well when the Oath of Eorl was called to action, or the Oath of Eorl was made, prior to the Oath. The people of Eorl and the Aethiod made their way south and were gifted the region of Calanarthon by Gondor, which became Rohan. So you are linked to Rohan. They are your closest relatives, though you being the ones that stayed behind. Blacksmiths, you only go up to 3, of course. As a lot of factions really only go up to 3. There's very few that actually go beyond that. So chainmail being your highest available. So, unfortunately, the Wild Men, Dunland, Enedwaith not so much, in fact Enedwaith not at all, but the Anduin and Dunland are one of the 2 factions with no scripts. Or, sorry, that made it sound like there's only 2. They are 2 of the factions that have no scripts. Oh no, Dunland has their Rise script, doesn't it? I'm all over the place with these things. The Anduin has no script whatsoever, I can assure you of that. So you'll play the game indefinitely and there'll never be any kind of triggering event or anything like that. You are just a normal faction, I'm afraid. Do note your armory building, like everyone else, is built to give you garrison troops, and it looks like... I have to go to the building browser because we're not able to build it yet. Garrison quarters, it looks like the Northman one, yeah. Armory and then militia armory. Although I'm going to have to change the requirements of that last one. You're never actually going to be able to build a militia armory. I've just realised that was a massive error on my part that I've only just noticed. Because unfortunately you only get the second tier of Town Hall. You are not able to get the highest tier of Town Hall, so you'll never get the top tier of the armory in towns. But that will be fixed in the next version, because I'm going to write that down as we speak. Armory, Wild Men. Just in case you're wondering what I'm writing down. Right, so there we are. So tips and difficulty for the Anduin on the campaign side. I would certainly suggest rush the mountains. The Misty Mountain's strength comes from its incredibly overpowered settlements. Khazad-dûm west, sometimes east if they're lucky, Zagkala, Goblin Town, and Gundabad. And of course Dane's Halls. These are all huge money makers, excellent recruitment centres, and thorns in your side. So rushing them and breaking the Misty Mountains apart is definitely the best way to go, in my opinion. Dol Guldur will come knocking on your door, but often they have Lothlorien to contend with, and the Woodland Realm, and sometimes Dale, and normally Dorwinion. So you don't necessarily have to deal with them throughout the whole game, but you might have to keep them at bay a few times. Certainly they tend to go for Roscabel very quickly because of the proximity to Dol Guldur. And it might be an idea to just let them have it and pull back to the far more easily defensible Dwinberg. And while you focus on taking the mountains. Of course, all that wealth and usefulness of these settlements comes to you when you take them. So that is the best advice I can give. Also note, because you're a Wildmen faction, you are left behind in the late stages. So the Misty Mountains not so much, but the Woodland Realm, Dol Guldur, Lothlorien, Khazad-dûm, in fact everyone other than the Misty Mountains, in terms of people that are near you, will be much, much better than you in the late game. And so you've really got to capitalise on the early game where you get good recruitment from your streamlined recruitment centres, and you get your Wildmen factions tend to have better units in the beginning than they do in the end, comparative to other nations. So your early tier units, for example, are better than your neighbours' early tier units, but your late tier are worse. So capitalising early is the best way to go. Your victory conditions for a long game, I should have said as well, is to defeat Mirkwood and the Misty Mountains. So it's only the two next to you. You don't have to worry about Mordor, and you don't have to worry about Angmar. So it's just the mountains and Dol Guldur. But anyway, enough of the campaign. Let's click on over, with a wonderful little transition that I have probably put in here, to the battle map and see what the army looks like. Welcome then to the battle map. So a quick overview of the Anduin shows that they've got something that covers everything. You've got 3 options on your cavalry, you've got plenty of archers, and you've got a fair amount of infantry. And also a quick look over the battle cards at the bottom show you that quite a large chunk of your army can hide anywhere, which is very useful for ambushing and setting up your army to ensure that you get the flank. Which is the main purpose of hiding anywhere, to be honest, is getting units out of the way, drawing the enemy into your main line, and then flanking perfectly. It's not necessarily about laying ambushes as much as it is just getting them into position. So, overall, the Anduin is very much where Enedwaith are a javelin nation, Dunland are kind of like the armoured Wildmen. The Anduin are a bit more jack-of-all-tradesy, kind of masters of none. They get good archers for humans, but obviously can't keep up with the elves or even more human archer nations like the Northern Dunedain or Dale. They get good cavalry, but they're nowhere near on par with a cavalry nation like Khand or Rohan, or even a late-game cavalry nation like Dol Amroth. And of course they get good infantry, but they're nowhere near as good as a proper infantry nation like Dol Guldur or the Arda Naim. So, jack of all trades, master of none. But looking at their units then, we'll start at the very, very beginning, of course, with the Stoors, the Hobbits. Now, there is suggestion, and then we may well, like we've done with the Hobbits in the Shire, merge these two into a single unit. But that would, of course, mean that you'd lose the stones and you'd just get an archer. So it's not set yet because we've got plenty of unit space and there's no reason to delete them. But if we were looking to free up space, one of them might go. But anyway, Stoor Sheriffs are useless. The only benefit they get is the fact that their stones are effective against armour, but otherwise they're 1-1-1-1-1. They are as bad as Snagger, up there as one of the worst units in the game. Except, because they are armour piercing, they are deceptively good. And you will actually get kills, provided you keep them out of battle. But do note they're only available in Femberg or Forod Rhine. And they have poor morale and poor morale response. 60 metre range and 50 missiles, so they can throw for pretty much the whole battle. And they cost next to nothing. And also with them are the Stoor Hunters, who are Hobbit Archers. And they are obviously not faring really any better, except that they have bows and a 2-missile attack instead of 1. With a much higher range and more, but less arrows. So 2 very cheap trash units to start you off. And then you come to your main line. We'll start with the Bjorning Warriors because they're very iconic. These are Berserkers, of course, so strike infantry. They frighten nearby enemy infantry, they're effective against armour, they might charge without orders, and they have an 8 attack with a 7 charge bonus. And a 7 defence overall. As all strike infantry, they suffer in the defence because they don't have a shield, and they're not actually that good at defending. They're excellent at killing. Their cost varies because they are also available as mercenaries. But they also get a bonus against mounts as well. They are one of the best strike infantry that the game has to offer in the early tier, which is a suggestion for a list, I suppose, isn't it? But a very, very good unit and one you definitely want in your army. Also then we have Vale Defenders, who are pikemen. They're just solid, dedicated pikemen. A low attack because they are early tier pikemen. And of course all pikemen have low attack to reflect how good their pike animation is or how good they are at keeping the enemy at bay. Total defense of 8, average morale response, so very average overall really, but only costing 600, which is not bad for an early tier pike. You also get Woodman Warriors, who are sword and board, hide anywhere unit. A nice defense of 9 with a 6 attack and a 5 charge. They're actually pretty damn good and are available everywhere. So again, only average morale response. But I say only. For the earlier tiers, that's actually pretty good. So you've got 3 really solid units in these 3 units here. And then finally you have Valesmen. Valesmen are the bridge between these 3 and the Stours, really. They can hide anywhere and they're spear and shield. But they've only got a 2 attack and a 2 charge and a defense of only 6. So they are not very good. Poor morale, Petra's morale response, however, but really not that great. They're useful because they can hide anywhere and they are spearmen, so they obviously get spear bonuses. They're good again. They get a little bonus against cavalry, but really they are garrison troops. You should use them to just keep towns in check. And if an enemy does attack, they will do a little bit better than the Stours. Finally, then your archer option at this tier are the trackers. They can hide anywhere as well. Their missile is 4, so once you come away from the trash tier, your entry level archer, your proper archer, is only 4. Is 4, sorry, which is very good. Most entry level archers are 1 or 2, so you've got that extra little boost for only 415 gold coins as well. That's really useful. But do note that their defense is abysmal at 6, and with only 2 of that in armor, they will die to arrow fire really easily. But they do have an average morale and average morale response again, but a poor melee attack. They are one of the quintessential archers in that they are useless when they've run out of arrows, but they are really good when they've got arrows. So try to use them. You also get a unit of cavalry at this earlier tier, the Bjorning Riders. And they're not the best cavalry by a long shot, but they are still cavalry. So a 10 overall defense, 4 attack and a 6 charge. Oh, and look, they're missing part of their head, which is also quite often putting to the enemy, I should imagine. Rather unsettling to see a man with no forehead charging towards you. But they are good at breaking enemy morale, hitting in the flank and chasing down enemy units. They are not good at staying in battle. The minute they have charged in, you should pull them out or they will just die, no matter really who they're up against. So this break here is where the most obvious break in the stats is, and is not necessarily representative of the barracks event. Some of these units will be available before the barracks event, but this is where the stat changes are. So starting with infantry, as we always do, one of the more iconic units for the Anduin is the Bjorning Shield Bearers. They are very, very defensive. A 14 total defense with a 6 shield bonus. Good morale, average morale response, 4 attack and a 3 charge. So they're not amazing spearmen, only having a little bit more attack and charge than the, not the Woodman Warriors, the Valesmen. But their defense more than makes up for that, twice the defense stat. They can, of course, shield wall as well, which gives them another big bonus. Very useful defensive unit. You also have Woodman Wardens, who are just a better version of Woodman Warriors, having an attack of 8 and a charge of 3 versus 6 and 5. So the charge is slightly worse, but their defense is 14 compared to 9, and they have javelins. So they are, other than the charge, they are better in all regards, but they do cost almost double at 300 extra gold coins for a unit that costs 440 to begin with. So better, but slightly more costly. They can also hide anywhere, so they're both sporting that trait. 55 meter range, 3 missiles. A useful javelin and then defensive line unit. Going over to archers, no reason to buck a trend. You get 2 at this tier, or 2 in terms of the stats. One more suited to staying alive, and the other more suited to killing enemies. So we'll start with the Aethiode Longbowmen. Aethiode are better in melee than their ranger cousins who stand just next to them. So they have a melee attack of 5, a charge of 3, and a total defense of 11, but no shield. Their missile attack is 6. And they have a range of 190 with 26 missiles. So all round a very good archer unit that will actually survive when the enemy comes. Now they're not going to kill very many enemies. They're not a mainline warrior unit, but they will survive longer than, of course, either of those before them. And with them are the Rangers. So you will note the melee attack is... actually, the Rangers are all over better, sorry, but they cost more for it. So the Aethiode Longbowmen are 670 gold coins. And the Rangers have a 7 attack compared to the 5. They have the same missile damage, and they have the same charge. The Rangers also have 1 more defensive point, and they have 30 more meters on the range, and I believe 6 more arrows, yes. 6 more arrows per man, with higher accuracy as well, of course, being very high rather than high. But, as I say, you pay for that in the fact that they are 300 or so gold coins more, 260 or whatever it is, gold coins more. So they cost more, but they are better for it. But they only come from Mirkwood or a Mirkwood border region. So if you can't train it, it's because you're not supposed to be, you're not in a region that can, whereas the Aethiode Longbowmen can come from anywhere. So these are very much your mainstream archers at this tier, and then these are whenever you can get them, because they will do very well. Do note, of course, that in future versions, 2.3 and beyond, the Woodman Rangers have been substantially altered, and they function very differently to the Aethiode Longbowmen, but not in this version. And finally, Aethiode Horse Archers. Aethode. No, I'm going to keep going on with Aethiode. Although, normally it's a diaresis that suggests the E is pronounced separately to the A. But then it might be Yothode. I just have no idea. It's Anglo-Saxon E. Oh. Anyway, sorry, just digressing. Horse Archers. They're just useful horse archers. Melee attack of 6, charge of 6, so not very good when they finish with their bows. 5 missile damage is alright though, and a 14 defense is better than nothing. And is pretty damn good, actually, to be honest, for a cavalry unit. Cavalry units tend to have relatively low defense other than late elites. 130 meter range, 34 missiles, high accuracy. They are very, very useful. And one of the better units for the Anduin, the Horse Archers. Finally, then we come to your elites. And on the ground, you get 2 Aethiode Footmen. Are spearmen that are available everywhere. Good morale response. Note that even at this tier, your morale is not very good, and nor is it locked. You've only got a 19 total defense for your elite units, but an attack of 8 and a charge of 5 is dependable and worthy of some praise. So a solid spear unit. Supporting them are the changed up and altered Carrock Guard. They were once javelin troops. They are now excellent strike infantry with fearsome axes. They also can plant stakes. They are your stake planting unit. They are effective against armor, and they inspire your troops. They have an 11 attack and a 9 charge with 22 defense to cover that up. But they only come from Sellerberg or Meithelberg. So they are AOR because they, of course, are Carrock Guard. They only come from the Carrock, but they are one of the finest strike infantry in the entire game. So whereas the Bjornings are one of the best early tier strike infantry, the Carrock Guard are one of the overall best strike infantry, and something that you seem to do reasonably well with. Finally, you have a little bit of elven inspiration in the elves themselves fighting for you. Sylvan March Wardens. And these, of course, are therefore absolutely outstanding archers with a 9 missile attack, 225 meter range and 28 missiles with high accuracy. But note, they only come from Amun Lank, so you've got to take Dol Guldur to get them, and then the elves will fight with you. They inspire your forces, and they can hide anywhere. They're 1,100, but they are more than worth it, being an outstanding archer battalion. Really, really, really good unit. But unfortunately, as I say, locked to Dol Guldur only. And lastly then, you get a unit that's fairly recognisable with the Anduin, the Aethiode Cavalry. 6 attack on their initial charge, but an 11 charge is very, very useful. 17 overall defense isn't that great, but their secondary attack is 8, which is pretty good. They are very dependable cavalry, but reflecting the fact that you are not a massive cavalry nation. You were in the past, but many of your finest have all left hundreds of years ago to form Rohan. And so what remains is a small ragtag battalion, which is why you're not amazing, but you are still useful and dependable. And finally, one of the Anduin's most outrageous units, and one that many people play Anduin almost solely for this unit, are the Skin Changers. Skin Changers are, of course, named such because in the book, they can transform into bears, which is what Bjorn is known for, and Grimbjorn after him. But, of course, we haven't got the bear animation working. So they are actually just in their human form, and they are insanely powerful. Like, they are unbelievably powerful if used properly. They have a 24 attack. That's correct. 24. That might actually be the highest attack of any non-monster or elephant unit. They are armor piercing, I should say, and they frighten nearby enemies. They have a 9 charge as well, with a very high mass, which means they punch quite high into the enemy lines. Their defense is 17, which is not that great, and note that they don't have a shield, and 11 of their 17 defense is made up of defense skill, meaning arrows are their worst enemy. But arrows are actually their second worst enemy, because of course their chief and primary concern is the fact that there are only 30 of them. They are very susceptible to being stun locked, which, if you're unfamiliar, is when a unit gets surrounded by so many enemies and they all do their attack animation, and every unit then just consistently plays out the stagger animation until it then dies. Because a unit cannot attack while it is being staggered, and if it's being attacked by 5 enemies, one after the other, it's just constantly being staggered until it eventually dies. And I say eventually because something I did not tell you is they have 2 hit points, which means you need to kill each man twice. That's the most basic way of understanding that. The way that the each individual fight between 2 units on the battlefield works is very much a dice roll. So there is every possibility that a unit with 1 attack will kill a unit with a 17 defense in a single hit, but obviously it's very, very rare. But one thing that is certainly true, and is a basic way of thinking of this, because that's how the game actually does it, is each one of these needs to be killed twice. That's simply how it works. So when it's being attacked, the dice will roll. If it dies, then it loses a life, and then if the dice roll again and it dies again, then it will die. But having the fact that you need to kill them twice just gives them that extra little boost. So when I say use them properly, what I mean, of course, is they are the ultimate strike bodyguard. And so you only really want to be committing them to the fight once the enemy is tied up with someone else, so they will not get stun locked. Because if they get stun locked, they will simply die. So that is the Veil of the Anduin. Those are all of your units. That is your roster. And now we come to fighting against an enemy. The third from last faction. Although actually I am going to do Gundabad as well, I think. Give you at whatever point Gundabad is at, I will give you a snapshot of their nation as an overview. So there are 4 left technically, but there's only 3 of the currently available nations left. And so who do you think this is? Feel free to guess, or please do. I thoroughly enjoy it when people guess. You can use an educated guess if you wish, and have a look at all the videos that have already been and see who is left, and work out who you think this might be. There's obviously a very, very heavy cavalry leaning at the moment, and that is, of course, because it is Rohan, the ultimate cavalry nation. Now, many of you are going to already be moaning, and you're going to be saying to yourselves, oh, but Dol Amroth have much better late-game cavalry, so Rohan are definitely not the cavalry nation. And there'll be other people who are saying, oh, and Khand have way better cavalry archers, so Rohan's definitely not the cavalry nation. But I would submit to you that a nation who has almost 50% of its available units mounted is the quintessential cavalry nation. Rohan might not be the elite cavalry nation. That accolade does go to Dol Amroth. But that is so. That is exactly how it should be. Dol Amroth is known to have great mailed knights, and Rohan is supposed to have more of a mobility focus on its cavalry. But also what Rohan basically has is every single type of infantry unit is on a horse. So you've got a unit that's good against armor, you've got a spear unit, you've got a sword unit, you've got a horse archer, and you've then got elites and lessers of those units. So that's why they're the cavalry nation, and I was just getting that out of the way in preparation of next week, where I'll probably rant about it again. There's their royal guard as well. One of the few nations in the game now who still have mounted bodyguards, because, spoiler alert, I probably won't bother remaking that submod. I don't think enough people actually wanted cavalry bodyguards to make it worthwhile. I already don't really have all that much time. If one of my fellow modders would like to make it, then by all means. And if someone out there would like to make it upon release of 2.3, I'll happily upload it for you. But we haven't had that many complaints about missing the cavalry bodyguard. Interestingly, most people are missing the stakes. People seem to want the stakes one more than the cavalry bodyguards. Anyway, sorry, I've been moving the camera around like a madman. Whereas we just want to watch some people fighting now, don't we? Oh, look, there's the dwarves! Yay! Dwarves in Rohirrim armor. There's all the blonde Rohirrim making it look like honey has been drizzled over the battlefield. Riders of the Fold charging into Carrot Guard there while still shooting someone else. They're so multi-talented. More dwarves. Their small number, they look like they're squeezing their way through the taller Rohirrim. And anyway, there we are. The end of the video. So thank you very much for watching, if indeed you have. I hope you've be inspired to play as the Anduin. And until we speak again, dear friends, Navair Naden Ferimad Melonin, and farewell.